3 biblical reasons God allows the wicked to prosper. What if prosperity you envy isn't a blessing at all? For years, I couldn't understand why people who lied, cheated, and rejected God seemed to succeed, while those trying to obey Him kept suffering. The scripture completely changed my perspective. Reason number 3 shocked me. Reason 1, God gives them over. Romans chapter 1 repeats the same sobering idea 3 times. God gave them up. God did not immediately bring judgment upon them. He simply stopped restraining them and allowed them to continue down the path they had chosen. Jesus also told the parable of the wheat and the tares. Before the harvest, they were allowed to grow together. The tares were not being trimmed, corrected, or disciplined, not because they were healthy, but because a different ending was waiting for them. Sometimes the easy life we envy may not be as desirable as it appears. Reason 2, suffering may be protection. Hebrews 12:8 says, "But if you be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are you bastards and not sons?" A loving father puts up a fence around his child, not because he wants to take away the child's freedom, but because he wants to protect the child's life. The trials that keep interrupting your plans and the pressure that keeps forcing you to depend on God may not mean that God has abandoned you. They may be part of the way He is protecting you. But we also need to be careful here. This does not mean that every kind of suffering is God's discipline. In John chapter 9, Jesus showed us that some suffering is not caused by a person's sin. Even so, God can still use suffering to draw someone closer to Him and protect them from the things that could truly destroy them. Maybe the suffering you have been trying so hard to escape is actually one of the ways God has been protecting you. Reason 3, prosperity can become a trap. James 5:5 says, "You have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter." The first time I truly understood this verse, it shocked me. The words "nourished your hearts" are not words of praise. They describe an animal being fattened before the day of slaughter. I once knew someone who was successful in business, wealthy, and admired by almost everyone, but no one could correct him, restrain him, or convince him to stop. Then, while he was still in his 50s, he suddenly died from a heart attack. In that moment, I realized something. Sometimes receiving everything you want does not necessarily mean that God is especially blessing you. No warning, no discipline, no restraint. That may actually be one of the most dangerous conditions a person can be in. From that point on, I began to understand that the life I envied may not have been a blessing at all. It may have been simply a life with no protective fence around it. Save this message for the days when life doesn't make sense. Share it with someone walking through suffering. And if you want to understand God's words more deeply, learn how to view suffering through the Bible, and prepare to welcome the return of the Lord, contact me through the WhatsApp number on the screen. Just write, "Lord, teach me to trust you." I'll help you join our Bible study tonight so we can study God's words together and prepare for the return of the Lord.